These are...
No fear. No political correctness. No wokeism. You're listening to Underground USA. As a reminder, I'm asking everybody to make sure you get to the polls. We are down to crunch time. Tuesday is election day. Early voting is in full swing. We've got Friday, Saturday, Monday. There's no excuse not to get to the polls. Don't be fooled by the mainstream media coverage that keeps talking about the red wave, because they want you to feel overconfident so that you don't make getting to the ballots a priority. We need to win by more than 15 percentage points to be able to circumvent the fudge factor that allows nefarious forces to steal elections. I'm not saying everybody's nefarious. I'm saying, why not just make sure? Doesn't matter how many eyes you have on the process. If the authorities overseeing the process don't care to take action when bad things happen, like we saw in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin last time around, then it's all the same. So we need to win by a wide margin, at least 15 points, if not more, so that they can't fudge the totals. Remember, the more time they have to touch the ballots before the election day, and now astoundingly after election day, the more bad things can happen. So we have to win by a wide margin. Right now, this morning's segment on the Captain's America Third Watch with Matt Bruce.
Joining us right now from the undergroundusa.com website. That's undergroundusa.com, because he's somewhere beneath the tundra in the panhandle of Florida. It's Frank Salvato.
Mr. Captain.
Well, those guys are above ground, and it's 67 degrees, clear skies, not a bad night tonight down here. And, okay, one guy, all right, see ya. They're going in. They've had enough. So there you go. All right. But anyway, it's a great day in the neighborhood, and we always look forward to talking to you on Mondays and Fridays. But next week, you're going to get some bonus coverage on Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's the day, isn't it?
Boy, is it. Although it'll be Wednesday morning when we're talking.
Yeah. It is the day.
Yep. So. Got to get it done. Got to get it done right. Remember, folks, whatever you do, vote. If you don't, you're part of the problem. And we don't want to be talking about problems. Well, I've been doing a lot of talking this morning about people that have been calling in from around the country and telling us about their areas. We heard in the first hour a lot about California and about how some things could come to surprise some folks in California, because even the California liberals out there have had it with some of what's going on with Gavin Newsom. And Gavin Newsom has started to opined a little bit about, well, you know, maybe we should have done something a little different. You know, he's trying to play the lighten up game.
The far left has to play the lighten up game. They don't have a choice. If they don't do some mea culpa, they will get slaughtered if people get to the polls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got articles in the Atlantic on the topic of COVID saying, well, maybe we really just should forgive everybody who was a little bit over the top during COVID because, well, we just didn't know. So maybe we should just forgive everybody for, I don't know, demanding that you lose your job, demanding that you lose your kids, demanding that your kids get pulled out of school, forcing you to get a jab. You're seeing the radical left trying to pull back from who they really are,
mm-hmm.
and it's an illusion.
Yeah.
It's an illusion, because 47 seconds after the polls close, they'll be right back to the extremists that they are.
Yep.
You can't trust them. You can't listen to them. You can't believe them feigning this, well, I think I might have seen the light.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you vote for me and then you can see if I've seen the light?
Mm-hmm.
We can't be that stupid.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Let's go to the phone line. We've got Backgammon Bob on the line. What's going on there, Mr. Backgammon Bob of Backgammonville?
Yes, sir. Deep in the heart of the Backgammonville.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to ask Frank about that guy up in New York. He went on TV and endorsed Zimmerman, the Republican guy, and seems to have had some effect. And is there a chance that we could conceivably win more than 4 of the Senate seats for the Senate? Are there more than that could actually be won? I know some of them are considered not in play because they're so heavily Democratic. Anyway, that's it, Captain.
All right, let me start with your second question first. First of all, going to Real Clear Politics as my source, they have the Republicans currently with 48 seats, the Democrats with 45, 7 in play, 4 lean Republican. And Frank, we're going to have to discuss this when we come back because here comes the music. So hang on. Okay, folks, and Frank and I are going to get into this because, again, this is an average of the polls. This isn't the poll numbers, an average. And we will be right back with more here on the Captain's America Third Watch. Don't go anywhere.
American Express, investigated by the U.S. government, caught processing a Soviet-era politician's dirty money, paid hundreds of millions in fines for deceiving customers. Rather than clean up their act, American Express has gone woke. Employees say people are promoted and told to offer lower premiums based on race. Amex administered critical race theory training that told employees capitalism is racist. American Express. Serve your customers, not woke politicians. Visit unamericanexpress.com.
This message was paid for by Consumers Research, a 501c3 educational advocacy group. To learn more, log on to consumersresearch.org.
News, insight, passion. AM 930, The Answer.
You're in the right spot for tomorrow's news tonight and breaking news as it happens with retired New York Fire Rescue Captain and World Trade Center attack survivor Matt Bruce, right here on the Captain's America Third Watch.
All right, thanks very much, Frank Salvato. Before we get back to Frank and talk some more politicking, I want to remind everybody that this portion of the program brought to you by Moss Family Automotive, and in particular, Moss Nissan. Moss, M-A-U-S, Nissan.com. Moss, M-A-U-S, Nissan.com. Don't forget to tell them the captain sent you. Okay, back to Frank Salvato, UndergroundUSA.com, and thank you, Frank, for sticking around.
Of course, anytime and always, my friend.
Although we are not quite down where we're going to go and stretch things a bit, but we're talking about what's going on here with the election cycle and the projections that we're seeing based on the numbers that are being put together so far by Real Clear Politics. Now, this is a phenomenon which I'm telling you, I'm going to fall out of my chair and kiss the ground if this happens. But we talked about the House of Representatives. This is unbelievable. The Democrats currently have 174 seats confirmed by the polling. The Republicans have 228 by the polling. That is the difference of plus 54 Republican with 33 in play, 22 leaning Republican. That would be an amazing feat if they were able to get to that 70 threshold.
Yes, it would be amazing. I don't trust polls to throw them, but it would be amazing if that happened. We've got to remember, the only poll that matters is what happens on Election Day.
Right.
We all thought that Obama was not going to get a second term because the country was in an uproar over Obamacare.
Yep.
There was no possible way he was going to get reelected because we were screaming, socialism will not live in the United States. We have to send this guy packing, and we had the big mo on our side, and we lost.
Blew it.
We had Donald Trump getting reelected because the economy was fantastic. He was moving quick on COVID. America was respected around the world. The dollar was strong. Everything was up. Nothing was down, and he lost.
Yep. Blew it.
It is never about the polls going before, because if I'm a Democratic operative, I'm saying that the Republicans are going to win in a freaking landslide to try and suppress the Republican vote, because if you keep telling people that the Republicans are going to win by 1 million votes, some Republicans don't show up to vote. because they think it's a done deal.
Yeah. Some aren't going to anyway. I mean, that always happens. But I think that some people want to be part of the winning team and they'd want to vote it to say, yeah, I voted. So I guess that's the angle you have to play.
Well, I don't play any angle. I just tell people to get their ass to the polls.
Mm-hmm.
Because history repeats itself, whether we like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And when Democrats say, "Oh, there's going to be a landslide," you're right. They love being on a winning team because Democrats tend to be incredibly superficial about everything that they do.
Mm-hmm.
They virtue signal, and they want to be able to say that they were part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is to reiterate for the 7 millionth time something that you and I have been saying for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the polls.
Yep.
You cannot have an excuse. There is no excuse. It's something that people have fought and died for, your right to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an obligation to get to the polls and vote.
Yep.
I don't care how close the polling says it is.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to vote. If we don't win by more than, I'm going to say 15% now,
mm-hmm.
you are subject to fraud. Period. I don't care if you've got 1 million poll watchers. I don't care if they send in the Marines to every single polling station to enforce the election law.
Mm-hmm.
Never underestimate someone who wants to steal an election.
Yeah.
Tammany Hall in Chicago should be fair warning to everybody out there that it doesn't matter whether you're watching the polls. Philadelphia last time around should have told you it doesn't matter if you're watching the polls. They will be in plain sight by coercion and force if they feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
So you better win by more than 15 points.
And don't forget those transmissions by those computers in the middle of the night, mysteriously.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is not about, hey, we've done it the legal way.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 1 million poll watchers in the worst district of Detroit, and so it can't happen. You're fooling yourself if you think that's going to happen.
Now,
you need to win by an overwhelming margin.
I got to mention the governor's races, and then we're going to go to a caller here. Right now, the governor's races advantage Republicans 24-15. 11 are in play. The Republicans lead in 7 of those 11. That would give them 31, which would give them 60+% of the governorships around the country, which would be a good thing.
And that gets you, I believe, 3 governorships away from being able to push a convention of states.
You're right. You're right. Okay, let's go to the caller. Good morning, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call, sir. Here comes trouble, man. You guys are talking about some awesome topics, and this is directed at Mr. Frank and his opinion on the matter. And you guys are talking about, obviously, we need to vote Republican, pretty much hold the nose and vote Republican straight ticket.
If they got a D after the name Eric, I would not vote for them, period.
100%. If they do not have a D after the name, I would not support them. Vote for them, excuse me. Here's the situation. Florida, the Congressional District 13, there are GOP insiders actively working against the candidate, the Republican candidate. Now, she is not the best candidate. She has got some sketchy stuff going on, in my opinion. But here's the thing. You got GOP insiders working against that candidate who won the district. And there are people within that elite system that, in my opinion, were actively sabotaging the previous, one of the candidates, Amanda Mackey, by calling her a terrorist as far back as 2020. Mm-hmm. Now, with that said, here's the thing. The Democrat candidate that the GOP insiders are pushing for people to vote for, and this goes to something that Matt Gaetz talked about 6 weeks ago. There are Republicans that want to get back to what's called regular order, the business of, the same old, same old. And the justification that GOP insiders are pushing for everyone to vote for the Democrat candidate is because he has, quote unquote, national security experience.
You got 20 seconds.
And experience within Washington, D.C. Now, I'm wondering what's Frank's opinion on that. And that's, I appreciate the time, and I just want to hear his opinion. Thanks. I'll take it off the air.
Okay, well, Frank, we don't have enough time to answer it, but you're going to stick around. We will answer the other side. I am aware of some of what he's saying. I've heard the same thing. I can't prove it, but I've heard it. So we will address that on the other side. And this is one of those districts that the Democrats don't want to lose this, and they're trying to pull out all the stops, even if it means taking people and handing them a few bucks and having them sabotage the Republicans, which is what I've been hearing.
Remember what they did to Trump.
Yep. All right, hold that thought. Remember the Alamo. There we go. Remember the Alamo. All right, we'll be right back with more to Captain's America Third Watch. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about CD13 in Florida in a minute.
You're in the right spot for tomorrow's news tonight and breaking news as it happens with retired New York Fire Rescue Captain and World Trade Center attack survivor Matt Bruce, right here on the Captain's America Third Watch.
Hi, this is CJ, owner of the Emerald Coast Tea Company. We offer a complete line of handcrafted exotic teas that will change your idea of what tea is all about. Either hot or cold, our teas please. And make no mistake, this ain't your mama's tea. Check us out at www.emeraldcoastteacompany.com.
All right, Frank Salvato, undergroundusa.com. Hey, your podcast the other day was really good. I liked it.
Well, I appreciate that. High praise from Caesar, as they would say.
Well, I'm not Caesar, but I'm the captain. so you got high praise.
Maybe Caesar Romero.
High praise from the captain. Eric talked about our congressional district here, 13. It got down, it got nasty, it got dirty. Nobody asked my opinion of the candidates, and I kind of stayed out of it to a large degree because I try not to favor anybody until someone gets nominated or whatever. And then I either say, yep, I'll support them, or nope, I won't, whatever the case may be. But they have to approach me. I'm not going to approach them. That's not the way it works in the business we're in. You well know that, right?
Yeah, it's you don't want to sway public opinion. You want to inform.
Yeah. So that's what we do. So if someone doesn't want to come up to you and say anything to you about their campaign, then you don't say anything. That's all there is to it. So I kept quiet about one and sort of quiet about the other because once in a while that candidate did come up and make comments. So it is what it is. But we've got a situation where they went after Amanda Mackey, calling her a terrorist and this, that, and the other. Absolutely not true. She saved more lives as an interpreter at the Department of Defense, interpreting what the Taliban and what Al-Qaeda and what ISIL was saying. And she translated those communiques so we could save American lives.
This is a perfect example of why primaries count.
Yep.
Everybody wants to talk about, well, it's an internal party thing. Yes, it kind of is. But because it ends up being the final choice, the nominee ends up being the final choice, you have to be engaged in the primaries just as much as you are in the general elections. It's important. Even in a red state where the Republican always wins, the primary is the election. Mm-hmm. So you need to be engaged. Now, I've got a piece up about the R and the Ds over at undergroundusa.com, and it's specific to what Eric was talking about. Just because someone has a D, just because someone says an R, right. You can't vote DNR anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not yesterday. Mm-hmm. It's tomorrow. Okay? Mm-hmm. You need to look at the candidate. You need to dig beyond the propaganda that's being pushed, both pro and con, about the candidate. In the age of the Internet, there is no reason why you can't take an hour to find out who's on the ballot. Mm-hmm. And if everybody would have done that in this race, they would have understood what you just said. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't have been falling for the propaganda that the internal cabal of the local Republican Party wanted you to believe. As much as we want to pretend we're the good guys, we have people in various levels of the Republican Party that want the status quo. They want to keep the power. Yep. They want to be able to pick the next one. Mm-hmm. So that's our preferred candidate. We're going to push them, and that's what we want to do. Now, when you have a scenario like Donald Trump last time where an outsider's coming in to actually affect change back to the Constitution, back to good government, you saw a whole bunch of Republicans who were like, oh, we can never have Donald Trump.
Right.
And all of a sudden, there were never Trumpers, and they played a significant role in the loss last time around. So don't look at the R and the D. You need to vote for the person that's going to do government correctly. And for conservatives, it needs to be people who have fidelity to the Constitution. So just like I keep screaming, Democrats have to purge progressives and fascists from their party, we've got to purge in the Republican Party the people who want to run it as a cabal where they just get to select the next person. That's not the way the Republican Party was founded. It just wasn't. And we're very far away from what the charter was. So you need to examine who's waving the Republican flag. Because just like in this race that we're talking about in Florida, it may have been someone who was chosen rather than who deserves it.
That could have a lot to do with what took place, yep. But again, and good morning, George. Your Godfather's chiming in. Good morning, George.
Morning, George.
Yep. The intelligence community had a lot to do with Donald Trump, too. They
vote, too.
Yeah. So many of them chose to badmouth, ignore, didn't care for, whatever the words are that you want to toss in there, right?
This is what the deep state is. That's a different animal than local politics. This should have never happened. This began under Wilson with picking experts, and the bureaucracy that was installed under him continued under Roosevelt, through Johnson, through Obama, through the Clintons.
Let me try to pick up a call real quick because we only got a minute left. Okay, good morning, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Robert from Largo.
Yes, sir. What's up? We got about 30 seconds.
Just want to let you know that I early voted a straight Democrat ticket.
You did what now?
I voted the straight Democrat ticket.
Goodbye and good luck. You're gonna regret it later.
Well, and this is why, and I want to thank Robert for being brave enough to come on.
Sure.
That's why you got to get out and vote, because you still got people like Robert out there who's probably one of the 15% who thinks Biden's doing a great job.
Sure. And
no excuses. Get to the polls.
Yep. Because anybody that thinks that, and by the way, anybody with a D after their name, a D, don't vote for them. That's the rule of thumb right now. Do not vote for them. They've done you no favors.
I also want to point out something that just happened here. You have Democrats listening to traditionally conservative outlets.
Yep.
Republicans don't do that in reverse.
Nope. Nope. And I know I've had people take some of my information and use it because it's shown up and I've seen it on Facebook. Somebody took something I said and used it. So there you go. All right. Frank, we'll talk to you on Monday. Can't wait. And you'll be around election night with us. I can't wait for that either. Have a great day.
You got it.
Take care. All right. That is Frank Salvato, UndergroundUSA.com. Coming back with Patrick Kylan, the Sports Zone quarterback.
Be sure to like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and hand it off to your friends and family. That's how we grow. And sign up for our Substack over at undergroundusa.com. It comes straight to you, circumventing the censors, so they can't decide consumable information for you. My name is Frank Salvato. You're listening to Underground USA. I'll be right back.
This podcast is a production of the Compass Point Group.
Hey, this is Judson Carroll with the Southern Appalachian Herbs Podcast. One thing Frank always reminds me to mention is that my books and my podcasts are not limited to my region of the Southern Appalachian Mountains. I'm a master herbalist with a working knowledge of hundreds of herbs that are available all around you no matter where you live and keep your family in optimal health. I'm now offering a free newsletter through Substack. Please find me on Substack at Judson Carroll Master Herbalist or JudsonCarroll.com And I look forward to communicating with you in the future. Thanks.